Taliesin West, in the desert near Phoenix, Arizona, is probably the masterpiece of modern architecture. It was designed and constructed by Frank Lloyd Wright with his apprentices from 1938 to the present time. It is still being extended by them and is now used as the winter home of Mr. and Mrs. Wright and the Taliesin Fellowship. The narration that now follows is in the form of a letter from Frank Lloyd Wright to James E. Davis. Dear Jim, like many others, you are perfectly right in feeling the primitive in Taliesin West. In the ancient days of our race, men were close to nature as a child to its mother. They were naturally inspired and taught by her forms on her terms. They had no choice. Sophistication came along with education, and science was used to wean or warp men away from the simplicity of that childhood. Now man, as the degeneracy consequent upon his education looms for him, desperately needs the refreshment afforded by conscious return to these lost verities of his own being, returning to nature with a capital N, not only in that early obvious sense, but with more prophetic understanding and appreciation of what his manhood means to himself. Well, I believe Taliesin West is modeled with due reverence for that higher understanding of man, higher than the original simplicity of the barbarian, not copying his primitive forms at all, but consciously drinking the understanding that is love from the same sacred springs from which the barbarian drank unconsciously. The result would not be imitation, but inspiration, now enlightened and furnished in action, with more ample means to create significant symphony, where before only the natural resources of the barbarian existed. Modern art feels the need of this inner strength, which comes from within, comes only from this eternal interior inspiration. But man is grown weaker by way of the sophistication he calls his education. So the modern artist among him falls into imitation of the primitive instead of sustaining original creation from the same source. Of this imitation, Taliesin is not guilty. No, Taliesin is original as the Maya, but, may I say, as a work of art, is as far beyond the primitive as our art and science of building is far beyond that of the barbarian. We are consciously aware of our relationship to environment in this our own time. But we shouldn't be too proud, or we fall.